Very much for that, Mark, the explanation of a pinging engine. And as we welcome you back to Mount Panorama Bathurst, we're on lap 8 of this 16-lap NASCAR 100. And that's the man cruising out in front, Russell Ingall, touring car Supremo turned NASCAR driver this weekend. And he will be campaigning this car for the entire national championship in 1998-99.
Yeah, well, that'll keep him busy. And he's certainly busy here today. He's actually pushing it harder than I would have thought was necessary, Brad. He's certainly got a comfortable lead over Kim James, but he's taking this on as if there's a sheep farm at stake.
He is. I mean, Russell's a fantastic driver, knows his way around here, there's no doubt about that, but he's got a 10-second lead or a 9-second lead to Kim James, and really I would have thought he's almost in the mode where he should be just cruising along, saving the brakes a little, and keeping out of trouble. He's got a long season ahead of him in that car. It'll be fantastic for him to win here because he'll lead the championship into the oval tracks, but he'll find it a different kettle of fish when he ventures onto the Thunderdome to handle that car. Oh, Bob Middleton there just a bit sideways behind Kim James.
This is our third place man, Terry Waihoon, in the BP entry. About to approach Murray's corner. A little bit of drama there. There's Ingall. That's the completion of his 9th lap. If you may have just joined us, it's appropriate to remind you there will be a compulsory pit stop in this race somewhere between laps 10 and 12 when all teams will be required to change the tyres on the right-hand side of the car. Ingall commences his 10th lap now as he charges up Mountain Straight, leading by 9.1 seconds.
Yeah, Russell's got something loose underneath. It may be, let's hope, only a brake duct, but that might not be too handy for one of the rear brakes. But this is the type of thing that Clark, of course, get very upset about or get nervous about. It does look like just a brake hose, not the hydraulic type, but just the air hose. Brad, if you can guess better.
Yep, no, I think you're exactly right. We can just see that under the car dragging, Alan. What it has is two big truck arms that run to the middle of the car, and the suspension and differential is all bolted to that. And what these cars tend to do is run a huge piece of ducting along that truck arm and around to the brake caliper. And I think what's happened is when he skipped over a curb, he's just probably torn a couple of the cable ties off that are holding that in place, and he's just got a bit of the brake duct dragging on the ground under the car. We see it flapping there, so let's hope that's all it is.
Pit crews are now standing by in pit lane. Pat Welsh is down in the pits, and we'll be talking to him shortly with the action of that mandatory pit stop. Russell Ingall continues to lead. Kim James is second, followed by Terry Waihoon, then White and Brewer. That's the top 5 on the racetrack for you. And you've really got to ask the question now, Brad Jones, how are the brakes on these cars?
Well, I'd say
9 laps?
I'd say they'd be looking forward to coming into the pits and getting a bit of a break. The other thing that we haven't really discussed is when they come into the pits, they'll stop and they'll get a bit of heat soak into the brakes.
Yes, this is a bit nice. See, the pedal goes a bit soggy.
Exactly right. They get, you know, it'll heat up the fluid a little bit, maybe get a bit of air in there, and just make that pedal a little bit worse. And instead of helping like you think it would, it won't. It'll hinder the progress of the cars. Kim James with the glove box on fire there, and he'd be lucky to stop that thing.
Yes, he's really having a bit of trouble now. I think Kim may have overextended his car to get up into second place. It was a tough job to have to go from the rear of the field all the way up to second. He did that very, very well, but he's decided to come in on this lap. One of the things we won't see is the car going up in its entirety. There are no onboard jacks in this class. You'll see a mechanic run around to the outside of the car and slap a floor jack in the middle of the car and pump like crazy. There he is now. Pump, pump, pump. As
2 pumps and that car will be up. Those jacks, aluminium, and they weigh 11 pounds. It's amazing how they do it all.
A little bit of juice going in there with the handheld churn. There'll be about 40 liters capacity in those churns, but wouldn't need much more than that, we don't think.
Now, Alan, this is where Kim James can make up some of his time. They're going at it, these two, feverishly. They've got the rear wheel on. No, Ingall, just got the nuts done up there, and he's away. Kim James' car's down. How about that? He stalled the car. Oh, there he goes, and he is right.
Quick thinking pit crew there, Brad. They jumped on and helped push it. Lots of mechanics I've seen standing at attention but not actually moving when their car is in trouble. That Kim James crew helped him there. Got him back out on the track.
This is where Russell's experience will come He's been in this situation before. He had a very, very nice lead, and it's gone. He'll just hopefully settle down, calm the whole thing down, have a look at where Kim is, and just press on. Kim's a guy that's he's just trying a little bit too hard, I think. They've got cold tyres on their car, and he's not going to catch him in a lap.
Terry Wyhoon, meantime, is also pitted and back out on the racetrack, not that far behind the leading duo of Jane. Obviously, Ingle up front leading this event. And they're about midway through lap 10 of 16.
Well, Russell will know that he's got experience on his side. He's car 9 in for his mandatory stop.
Eddie Albanica.
Good number 9. He's got to have luck on his side with a number like that, at least, you'd think, wouldn't you?
You would think so. The interesting thing about those pit stop, Alan, is unlike the cars of today where they have the single nut, they've got the 5 tiny nuts, and they glue them on with Goa glue. So when they push them on, the nuts stay at the end of the stud, and then they just zap them up with a little rattle gun.
Yes, it's quite impressive. It's a rule that's been dragged over from the American style, and nothing wrong with it at all. We're very sophisticated with our pit stops, being able to do something like that, 4 tires.
Oh, here's Kim Jane. Look at this.
Oh, he's really lunching in here. Careful.
Doing the right.
Oh,
Neville Lance is giving a footfall.
This is what happens.
Oh, goodness.
No.
This is what happens. It's you have to be careful when you're passing cars. And now Kim Jane has thrown that tactical position he had over Russell Ingle. No fault there of the King Cool car. He was only doing his bit, but he did punch it a little bit too severely, coming on a forced elbow.
The back went sideways. We might try and get another look at that. Here's Jane charging up the inside.
Someone's off here. There's a whole heap of dust and dirt there, it looks like.
And
off again.
Yes, he's really got a case of Russell Ingle-itis, and he's trying extremely hard to get on that back bumper bar.
Neville Lance, the Auto Pro.
Incident again. Here we go. Perfect.
So
Neville Lance is here now. You watch Neville here, Alan. I reckon he gasses the thing up a bit too hard. Kim's sort of in there. I don't know that they touch. Neville's on the gas.
Exactly. He has overpowered it. Classic power oversteer when we want to talk in technical terms, but just getting too much power into those back wheels. He may have been a little unsettled with Kim alongside him, but I don't believe he did it intentionally, that's for sure.
Marshall Brewer's Pennzoil entry in the pits.
Getting his mandatory 2 tires on the right side only.
And we see the mark on the side of Neville's car when we pan back there, just where where Kim Jane and he have made contact. It's these cars only have 4-speed gearboxes, a lot of horsepower. When you get on the throttle, when the tyres are all a little bit second-hand, the back tends to liven up and get a bit of wheel spin and, of course, step out. So, you know, I guess, as they say, that's racing, Alan.
Exactly, mate.
So the Auto Pro Royal Purple Motors Oil entry of Neville Lance makes his way back onto the racetrack as we focus our attention on the man up front, Russell Ingle.
On lap 11, across the top again. Here he is on the approach to McPhillamy, the fast left-hander. He'll have a nice clear sky in front of him now. I think he'd be thinking about that brake pedal right about now. There she goes, down a gear. And I must say, Russell's very comfortable going through this part of the circuit. Much more comfortable than a lot of his compatriots were earlier in practice. But here he is roaring that big Chevy engine down to Forest Elbow. He'll tuck in left here as tight as he can. A little bit cautious there on the gas pedal. Nothing wrong with that at this stage of the game. And they're the best sight in Australian motorsport, Conrod Straight. And opening it up with this kind of horsepower, I think he'd feel fairly exhilarated about now.
He certainly would. Russ will be having a bit of a drink, maybe a chat to the guys in the pits on the radio, trying to see what the gap is to Kim Jane. Get his head down. You hear him lift way before the chase. It's because these cars are going so fast and they have such tiny brakes. They only have 15-inch wheels on these cars, so the brake caliper and disc is quite small, probably every bit as small, if not smaller than a road car.
Yeah, just sort of brakes for the speedway conditions on the banked ovals. They really, you only just dab them occasionally on the ovals, don't you?
Well, you get into them a little bit, but nothing like you would on a road circuit, and they're just not built for this, really, but they do a fantastic job. It's a great category in America. More people watch NASCAR than they do anywhere in the world.
Well, than they do football or baseball, I might add.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful success story, NASCAR racing in the States. Let's now take you down to the pits where Pat Welsh is standing by. He'll talk with Scott Williams, the team manager of Russell Ingle's car.
the team owner as well, David, and very nervous at the moment. Have you been just talking to Russell?
Yeah, we had a slow stop. They had a bit of trouble with the rear tyre and lost about 5 seconds on Kim. But Kim got involved in that little bit of a thing there, and we've just managed to open it up a little bit. And we can see that he's using the brakes a lot more than us, so we're hopeful that we can keep on moving up.
First time we've seen these cars racing here. Wild and woolly stuff, isn't it?
Oh, it's awesome. They're fairly quick up the top, and Russell was saying just he couldn't believe how much power they had going up the hill.
They chew quite a deal of fuel. We noticed not only do they take the 2 outside tyres, but a fuel stop as well, because if they went the 16 laps, there'd only be about 4 litres of the 80 litres left.
We ran a full race distance in practice the other day. I think we were one of only 2 people to do that, and Russell said his quickest time on the last lap. We knew the tyres were up to it, but he said it cut out 3 times over the top of the hill, and it took just over 4 litres.
All right, I know you're nervously watching the screens here. I think your team is on the verge of making history at Mount Panorama. Scott, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks very much.
Well, I think it's Russell Ingall that wants to make history. He's still hammering this car, Brad. He's not fooling around. Did you see he was there right over the white line to get a little better angle coming past Kim Jane's stalled car.
Let's check them now on the race score. At the completion of 12 laps, it is Russell Ingall in the Chevy Monte Carlo, leading easily. Kim Jane in second, then Terry Waihoon third on the racetrack, followed by Matthew White. Marshall Brewer in the Pennzoil entry is still hanging in.
Just a young man from Melbourne, and I'd say I'd like to have that problem. Just a young man, 24, doing very well, I would say, Brad, to be 24 years of age, and at Bathurst, it's an achievement in itself, but a NASCAR at Bathurst.
Waihoon's off.
Terry Waihoon, he's off. I think they're certainly at the point now where they're starting to be wanting for breaks, and there goes Matthew. This is Matthew's first race in a NASCAR.
Well, he's done well here to grab third, and that'll give him a podium in his first race. And as I was saying, if he's only 24 and got this experience under his belt, he obviously will have a career in front of him.
Well, Matthew's been the Oscar champion, so he knows his way around the Thunderdome, and look forward to stepping up into these cars. He, I don't think he's planning to do the whole season yet, but I think if he gets a good result here, anything can spur you on.
Exactly.
They don't all run exactly the same cars here as they run on the Thunderdome. Some of these guys have 2 cars, and they'll have one that's all set up square so it can turn left and right. They'll have another one at home in the workshop that will only just turn left. So I think Terry Waihoon's one of the guys that actually only has 1 car, so they've set that up to come here and do this race. But he's hurting for speed a little bit. I think he's out of brakes.
Yeah, he's got some problems, Terry Waihoon. Noticeable, the race car using all of the track and then some more. So subsequently, he falls back one spot. He'd be angry about that because he was making a fairly good charge in this race, where Russell Ingall is leading by 5.3 seconds to Kim Jane in second spot. Magnificent aerial shot of this glorious circuit at Mount Panorama as these NASCARs, all 1,500 kilograms of them, race across the top.
And this circuit is hard enough just placing your car, but to be trying to place it without any brakes.
Okay, let's check proceedings with our top 5 race score for you. Russell Ingall maintains an emphatic lead at this stage of proceedings. Kim Jane is still second. Matthew White is the mover. He's now running third. Waihoon fourth on the racetrack. And the Pennzoil Chevy Monte Carlo of Marshall Brewer rounds out the top 5. Left for him to negotiate the victory, and it's been a big performance by him. First real hit out in the NASCAR, and has asserted his superiority in no uncertain terms, and is going to win this by about 6.5 seconds.
He's driven it beautifully, practiced well, had a couple of little moments, nothing to worry, hasn't hurt the car at all, tuned it to his way of driving, and has done a superb job here this afternoon.
Here he comes now, down through Murray's Corner for the final time. Car number 34. The Vision Fireworks King entry, and Russell Ingall is the winner of the 1998 NASCAR 100 at Mount Panorama. Kim Jane will follow him across the line in the Bob Jane T-Mart's entry to pick up second place after a spirited drive. And young Matthew White from Victoria, the driver of car 28, will come across the line in third spot, about 15 seconds behind our eventual winner. There's the second place man, Jane. Here's White. Checkered flags, 2 of them for him, and that's a big moment for him to finish on the podium at Mount Panorama. Plenty of action, a real attitude, these cars. Noticeable, they were running out of brakes. Suffice to say, the drivers would be a little tired, wrestling 1,500 kilograms of NASCAR around the mountain over 16 laps. And a lot of the cars getting right out of shape in the latter stages of that 16-lap NASCAR journey.
I think Kim Jane would probably be a little disappointed. He was right on Russell Ingall. He finished 4 seconds behind him, but I think Russell probably took it a bit easy on that last lap. But 4 seconds is the difference between having that coming together with Neville Lance and not really. And here we have Marshall Brewer just crossing the line to finish off the race. He's in 5th place and Neville Lance right behind him in 6th, so that's a dicey position.
Yes, I think Kim really will be pleased that he got as far as he did, but he should have a little chat to himself tonight about just being a little bit overly zealous at the wrong time.
I'm sure that he'll reflect and look back at some of the things in the race and, you know, I wish that hadn't happened. But that's just the way it is. That's what this sort of racing's all about. Matthew White, on the other hand, did his fastest lap 14 laps into the race. You know, great job by young Matthew White, and I think in this class he's probably one of the stars of the future.
NASCAR racing, born in this country in 1988, thanks to Bob Jane.
And here we have Ken James, who we saw just brush up against the wall earlier. You see the tyres are a bit white on the inside. That's a legacy of that white paint.
Across the line, he runs. We'll update you on the full race score shortly. Repeating though, Ingall winning by 4.1 seconds to Kim Jane, then 17 seconds back to young Matthew White, who ultimately finished 3rd on the racetrack. Car 95 now cruises across the start-finish line. Bob Middleton, another Victorian, started out of position 12 and finished 9th on the racetrack, so some progress there. They really did spread out in the latter stages. Ingall would have enjoyed that, Brad. I mean, obviously something of a challenge, despite his obvious prowess in a race car. They are a real handful.
They are a real handful, and one thing's for sure, if you're a racer, it doesn't matter whether you win a go-kart derby or a Bathurst 1000, you're pretty happy.
Let's update them for you now as we look at Todd Wanless stranded in the sand at the top of the mountain. Russell Ingall, the winner in the Chevy Monte Carlo, followed across the line by Kim Jane. Matthew White 3rd. Then the Ford Thunderbird of Terry Wyhoon. Marshall Brewer in the Monte Carlo was the man finishing 5th on the racetrack, ahead of Neville Lance, who'll probably be satisfied with 6 after all the problems. Ken James 7th, then Graham Smith, Bob Middleton, and Wollongong's Terry Byers finishing just inside the top.